is one of our slackers.
Hi, Brian. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. And Henry from class of 74. And Tim and Matt, thanks for joining us. Perfect. All right. Bill Fisher, thanks for joining us. And there is an option for those in the chat to send to all panelists or all panelists and attendees. So just make sure you have that panelists and attendees if you're looking to connect with the rest of the chat as well. All right. Seamus, thanks for joining us today. Hi, Brother Frank. Thanks for joining. And Beth, Thomas, and Charlotte Gorham, and Bob Devlin. We definitely have a great representation of different class years here. Thank you all for coming. All right. So as we're looks like a good amount of people are in. So as we're letting the other attendees trickle in, I just want to give a great thank you for everyone for joining us today. My name is Jacob Pelletier. I am the Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement here at St. Mike's. I am also an alumnus from the class of 2014. So I'm really excited to be connecting with you all for this Alumni and Family Week today. And here for our reflections on our fire and rescue program, celebrating 50 years now. We're really excited to have our students as well as our fire unit chief here with us. Unfortunately, the rescue unit just got called out before this meeting, but we'll see if they're able to join us later on in the call. But first, without ado, a little bit of an overview of this program is the St. Mike's Fire and Rescue really did start in 1969 as the college student, as one of the St. Michael's College students died on the athletic field while waiting for limited emergency medical services to arrive. And with this, the need for better emergency management systems were brought to the attention of the college by the students and prompted the formation of this emergency service. And with the assistance of Donald Sutton, who was the former dean of students and the security director of the college, they began the St. Mike's Rescue, which it is now today. And later that year, on December 19th, the rescue program went on their first call and continued to work with the state and other agencies to do a dual unified or two-unit department with the fire program, and that began in April of 1970. So really a lot of milestones in that first year alone, and definitely a lot more that have gone on since this past 50 years. And I'm very proud to introduce our members of our panel. First up, we have Eric Haversang, who is our fire unit chief, as well as alumnus from the class of 2011. And then we also have Max Wiener from the class of 21, who is our first lieutenant on the fire unit. And then Ryan Colther, who is from the class of 23 on the unit clerk fire unit. So thank you again, everyone, for taking your time out of your day to join us today. And to kind of kick off the panel, would each of you kind of just go around and kind of explain a little bit about why you got involved with the fire and rescue program to begin with and what it's really meant to you over these past few years of involvement? Yeah, Eric, you can go first.
I'll go first. Yeah, so I'm looking at the participants. Most everybody knows me, but Eric Haversang, or better known as Jersey, graduated 2011. And I got into fire and rescue because of my hometown. Really, we have a fire department. I grew up just outside of New York City, and 9/11 happened, and my dad and my uncle and those guys, they went and covered Brooklyn for a couple days, and then a month or so later, there was a pretty big fire behind my house, and I just thought it was really interesting and really cool how just everyday people, just dropped their day job or their night job and became volunteer firefighters and put out fires. So I was really interested from a young age. And then, the stars aligned and things worked out where I was able to come to St. Mike's. I wanted to come to St. Mike's specifically for the fire and rescue program. And like so many other people, never really left Colchester. So I'm still here. I was fortunate enough to be part of when Pete retired, when Pete Soons retired, to be part of the plan to keep it going. So I'm here. I just started my 6th year full time and loving every minute of it.
Yeah, similarly to you, Chief. I've always had an interest in the fire service. My hometown of North Kingstown, Rhode Island, I grew up very close to a firehouse, part of the North Kingstown Fire Department. And I was never really got involved, I guess, at a young age, but I was really involved in community service when I was in high school. And when I came to St. Mike's to take a tour, the tour guide gave me an excellent tour. I was immediately drawn to the campus of St. Michael's, but they pointed out the Sutton Fire Station, not really knowing much. And so I went over there and asked for a private tour. And I think it was Mike Good, class of 2016, I think. Yeah, he gave me a tour of the station. And as soon as I walked in those doors, I fell in love with it. I saw it as a way, and through my experience, it's definitely been a way to engage in that community service, but in a form of that people need. And it's really impacted my development as a young adult.
So just like Max and Chief, I was also exposed to the fire service at a young age. My grandfather was the fire chief at our town back home in New Jersey. I'm also from New Jersey. And it's always something that I've wanted to do. And this is just such a unique opportunity to not only further my education, but to get involved in the community and just, make a difference. And yeah, I really didn't know about fire rescue till club fair freshman year. And I just kind of walked up to the table, and the rest is history. Here I am.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for all your work and service that you all do for our community, and the work that you've done even before you came to St. Mike's. It's definitely great to kind of hear where this all started. And we'll kind of jump into some questions right away that were previously submitted to our panel. But for the rest of our attendees, please feel free to submit any questions you do have through the Q&A here on the webinar. You should see that at the bottom of our screen. And the first one that I kind of want to kick off with is what sets St. Michael's Fire and Rescue apart from other surrounding emergency response agencies? I know that's a big question.
Want me to take that? Okay. Well, it starts with just the fact that we're the best. No, I think that our membership makeup certainly plays a role in setting us apart from other departments around us. The nature of a volunteer fire and rescue service is in kind of neighborly care, people caring for the people that live near them for the benefit of that community. And as you know, a lot of us, like Jersey behind me, like Ryan upstairs, they're from hours away. And most of our students are from like Massachusetts in the exterior New England area. So there's not really that sense of communal care because, we're not from here, but, our makeup as volunteer college students who already have busy lives, we have that extra motivation and that extra energy to put forth into becoming some of the best pre-hospital providers and fire suppression experts.
Yeah, that's definitely some good info there and some stuff I never really thought about. And do you feel with having that mix of students from different areas that you have these different levels of expertise coming in, or is it more of a general baseline that then through your training you get to develop these more in-depth skills?
Oh, absolutely. our kind of the way we do things in terms of new members is that even if you have prior experience as a cadet or a volunteer of a different department, we all start at the same level. You know, you can use that knowledge that you had beforehand to apply it to advanced trainings, but we all build off each other. We all start from 0 and we get to 100 together. And I think that especially with the diversity of areas of study even proves as an advantage. Because in terms of leadership and management, there are different styles of doing so, and a lot of people offer different perspectives that are certainly valuable in many different situations. Because I mean, the nature of our work is expecting the unexpected, and so having that really large thought pool really proves to be an advantage to the unknown nature of what we can get ourselves into.
Yeah, and kind of a big question here as we're talking about the unknown is how have you all kind of adapted your training and recruitment for this upcoming year due to the restrictions from the COVID-19 pandemic?
I guess being the training officer, I'll take that one too.
Zoom, lots of
Sorry,
Zoom.
Max.
No, it's okay. Well, I guess when everything started getting serious in March, the governor and his health experts started rolling out all of these kind of guidelines and regulations, in all honesty, you know, of people in a room, the need for masks and things. So obviously you have those tenable realities of, okay, well, now we can't all be in a big group talking about the same topic. You know, we have to adapt our kind of location. And, you know, fortunately, we were able to keep that isolation, I guess, going with working in smaller groups of people, everyone wearing masks and all of that. And so that hasn't ultimately been super effective. But there have been certain scenarios where we've had to get creative in terms of fulfilling either a training requirement or other requirements that would otherwise be easy without the need for COVID precautions.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if either of you were on campus this summer as students, but could anyone talk to kind of how that went for the summer for students that were staying on campus to help with the fire and rescue?
Ryan, why don't you take that one?
Yeah, so we started in the beginning with a 24 on, 48 off schedule. So obviously the 3 duty companies maintaining isolation and just trying to make sure that if we were exposed, right, it was contained to that company and that company only. And, you know, once that started, we just kind of kept going. I know for myself, I was still a probie at the time and I was not interior certified yet. So it was really great to be here and not really have to worry about, you know, going to class at a certain time or, you know, doing X, Y, or Z. I could really focus on my skills to become interior certified. And then once I passed my interior exam, became voted up as a senior member, began driver training. So that's another thing that we were able to do a lot this summer was driver training and to really try to progress the skills of our members. Obviously, couldn't do it in large groups, but with the help of just my company, it was really a good time and a great experience. I made so many more friends up here than I really would have ever thought so. And it was just a great time for my personal development as well as my development as a firefighter.
Awesome. And kind of going back at you, Ryan, as someone who just kind of went through that training process, one of the questions we had from our alumni participants was if students still have to memorize all the roads that within the area, or if with the advent of GPS services that has become easier to deal with.
Right. So we still have to memorize the main roads around here in Colchester campus, obviously, Winooski, as well as some Essex. But obviously, we do have that GPS technology. So we can utilize both our knowledge as well as the technology to get that understanding of roads.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's a lot of work to begin with some of the names and everything. But
Oh, yeah.
at least you know where Winooski Park is, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so kind of jumping to a little more philosophical question, I was wondering if you all could talk about a little bit of what you've learned from these experiences, maybe not so much of the technical aspects, but how this has affected you personally, whether it's a certain story or connection you made with a patient or just with your crewmates. Um, and I'd like to hear that response from all of you, if you don't mind.
I'll go. I mean, I think just more recently, dealing with the whole COVID thing, um, you just develop like a really good bond with the crew, and I got to really know everybody kind of more than I probably ever would have, because when, I think Ryan or Max said we went to 24/48s. I myself did that, to help keep the coverage up. And it was actually, obviously, in the era of COVID, it's a little nerve wracking, but it was enjoyable because you got to spend 24 hours with the same group, um, do a little training, but obviously we minimize so many of those things. But it was nice to have, to get to know everybody, go walk over to Alio with them, get some takeout meals to go. And I just think for me, the last couple of months have been really telling of how great this crew is. And I'm not just saying that to say it. I mean, if anybody asks me, I tell them the same thing. Like, just the way these young men and women handled, I remember we were in the department meeting in March. It was basically like, if you leave, you're never going to come back. And trust me, you don't want to leave and go home and stay in mom and dad's basement and wish you were up here. Like, I know most of you guys pretty well. Like, you don't want to do that. So it was nice to have the majority of our membership stay. They stayed through the end of the what would have been the spring semester. They stayed through summer, and they're here now till at least November. So I just think for me, the last 6 or almost 9 months now have just been have impacted me, just to see how great the members can really be, because it was a little different before COVID. I think we were not as tight of a group as we could have been, and then when this all happened, I think we've grown tremendously as a group. And this is a group of 40 people, so everybody's gotten to know each other. Obviously, summers are sometimes a little difficult, but all in all, that I think the last couple of months have really had a good impact and shown me how good these members can be. Not that they weren't great beforehand, but this is just another add to that.
Yeah, kind of reflecting on my 3 years, coming up on 4 years here, it's been pretty profound in shaping kind of how I look at things from just a perspective on life. Before I joined this department and before I came to St. Michael's College, I can't say I was ever pushed into an uncomfortable situation. I was pretty fortunate in my upbringing that many situations, whether it be with organizations or day-to-day life, I was never really uncomfortable. And I really kind of underestimated, I guess, what being a firefighter, being an emergency responder would be. Because as Ryan spoke to it, the interior certification process for the fire unit, it involves a lot of pressure and a lot of, being uncomfortable. And, because the nature of emergency response is that we thrive in uncomfortable environments, we're able to stay calm in high stress situations. And that is not something that I was able to do. I ended up taking a few extra months, I think a couple months after, I had to really kind of put forward that extra effort in proving to not only myself, but also the people around me, the people who are managing me, like Chief Haversang back there, that, I'm not a liability, I am an asset. And that really helped me in my personal development, in terms of having faith in myself and, knowing that I can do things, being determined, because that crossed over not only into my personal life, but also my academic life. I'm not intimidated by assignments anymore. Everything is super manageable when you kind of take a step back, take a breath, and look at everything from the perspective of how do I accomplish this? And, now coming through those years as a firefighter, going through the driver training process, and now becoming an officer, SMFR has really benefited my development as a professional as well. I've never really been, besides, high school committees, which aren't really committees. It's just a group of friends that make decisions about things that are overseen by adults. here, that's not what it is. It's, you are management and you are in charge of people. There is nobody, well, there are people above you, but those people above you have way bigger things to worry about. And, having that situation present itself to me was a serious challenge, but it really helped me in developing my personality as a professional. And, I hope that I can utilize the things that I've learned here in not only leadership, but, management, and still being a person, in my professional life after college.
So I'm going to piggyback off of both of those ideas. Obviously, I've only been here for probably less than a year, and I can already tell you that it's really starting to take an effect on my life. Just looking at my schoolwork a different way, thinking ahead, thinking, okay, if I do this, how is that going to affect my next decision? Because you always have to think about that in your fire ground and just all the time. And that's something that just responding for 9 months has taught me already. And another thing that I think I've taken from this experience is that, there isn't always one right way to do it. There's a lot of ways you can get it done. It just matters the way you're most comfortable. And, like I said, or like Max said, I wasn't really brought up in a place where I faced so many challenges and really had to push myself. I coasted through school, no problem in high school. And when I, hit this, it was a whole different animal. And just being able to, calm down, go back to my roots of studying, repetition, practical skills. It really kind of opened my eyes to what I probably would have to do in college in the later years once I get to more advanced classes. And it's something that I think I wouldn't be the same person if I didn't have these experiences. And I will be eternally thankful for everything once this is all said and done.
Awesome. Well, I definitely think that those are a lot of incredible points, whether it's from the sense of community or just your personal and professional development, of how this program really inspires people and pushes you to kind of think in new ways, and that these skills you're developing, yes, they're applicable to the fire and rescue program itself, but you can also use a lot of those in other places. And I think, again, that just kind of speaks to the strength of the program you're all doing. So thank you again for that.
One more thing, I guess. I know that rescue isn't here, but, I'll try and offer, I guess, their perspective, because I know that many members of our rescue department kind of, are inspired to pursue further employment, further career aspirations in the medical field. And I haven't personally seen people go on. Obviously, I've only been here for 3 years, but, some people really kind of use this place not only as a springboard for applications and service hours, but also just kind of getting into perfecting their ability to maintain contact with patients and interact with them. Because, unfortunately in our world, there are doctors, nurses, and things that they just don't know how to talk to people. And I think that having done hundreds to thousands of hours on an ambulance really kind of gives you the ability not only to talk to people, but also to sympathize even with somebody who you don't know.
Yeah, thank you for that, Max. I think that's an incredible point too, because it's seeing the person behind the healthcare, right? And really identifying with the people you're serving through that industry. So definitely a great testament to that program too. So thank you for speaking on behalf of them here. And that kind of leads into another question. This is probably more on your radar, Max, than it is yours right at this moment, Ryan. But with this program, where do you see this kind of impacting your future career goals? Whether it's through fire and rescue in a similar light, or just preparing you for other things. What would you think about that?
There's definitely the side of having a lot of certifications, I guess you could say, to put on a resume, and, some tactile skills that you could tell job interviewers that, I have experience in leadership. I have experience in high stress situations, but also, I'm not entirely sure what I'm meant to do in this world, I guess. I haven't had that super serious calling of, wow, I'm super drawn to this profession, this field, this career. I know I'm going to do that. But I know for a fact that, firefighting and being in the emergency response community is something that I really enjoy. And so I anticipate that my future careers, whether it be a month after I graduate or years after I graduate, will be doing something within the emergency response community.
Yeah.
Rescue will be
same
joining
thing.
us shortly.
Obviously, I'm much younger than Max, and I really haven't had that calling. But I can tell you that over the past couple months, I've really felt gravitated towards the emergency response world, and who knows, maybe I'll end up pursuing a career in that someday. But I know that once this is all said and done, I will have so many skills that I can apply to any job, whether that be an accountant or a firefighter, and I will definitely use those skills to my advantage.
Great. A number of questions were related to this one that David just mentioned in the chat here. Is how can we as our greater alumni network really help support you and your initiatives on a day-to-day, but also kind of looking into the greater future of this program as well?
I think that's a fantastic question, and one that we've been trying to figure out the last 9 months or so, because Vermont's got a travel restriction, and if you come from a red state or even a yellow state, you're not supposed to be here. There's no visitors on campus and all that. So I think in the short term, and even in the future here, just if alumni want to give training, obviously through Zoom, it's not the most ideal scenario in the entire world, but if alumni who are not living in Vermont or not able to travel here, want to provide like a Zoom training on a Friday or a Sunday or whatever day works for them, I think we would love that. We'd be grateful for that. And in the past, in the recent past, alumni helped with raising money to feed the crews when they were here from March to May, and people were donating nightly dinners. They were donating money. So that was a massive amount of support and received really well. I think Ryan wrote all the thank you cards for that. So he's really in tune with how that went. But I think in the future, until we can start having people come up and travel again, any kind of offer, like a Zoom training offer would be great. And leadership, or even just like career guidance and outlook, right? Because there's so many avenues to explore if you want to branch off of emergency services. So I think that's something that we would love to have and would certainly benefit from. That's my perspective on it, at least.
Just to offer, I guess, a quick story. This past weekend, I was talking to my parents. My father, who's a business owner in Rhode Island, he has become a little bit more in tune since I started the whole firefighting gig with his local departments, and now he gets pretty frequent visits from a lot of the crews that are around him, just to ask about what I'm doing and things like that. And it's not unheard of, at least in Rhode Island, and my father's experience, that people know St. Mike's alumni, whether it's in the emergency response community, specifically, I guess, in this situation, because there are numerous members of alumnus that are with the Providence Fire Department, for example. But also, one way, I guess, that alumni can help today's members is just by being the fantastic alumni that they are, being those professionals that Pappy taught us how to be, because people see those individuals and then they ask, like, what they feed you? Where'd you come from? And when they hear that, they're a formal Purple Knight, that they're a St. Mike's alum, that starts a trend. And I think a lot of people, especially, at least for my dad, who was talking with a couple of firefighters from the city of Cranston, it's definitely very apparent that just by being an alumni, by showing people the professional that you are, that does a whole great deal in opening a lot of doors for current members of St. Mike's Fire and Rescue.
Yeah, thank you for your responses and for that question, David. I think both of those are really great points, kind of touching upon different things and how our alumni networks are almost ambassadors, whether they know it or not, to the rest of our current students and future alumni, right? So I think that's a great thing to keep in mind as well. And perfect. I'm going to take this time to introduce John quickly and let him kind of get a few words in. So John Keating just joined us from the rescue side. He is also an alumnus from the class of 2017 and is our current rescue unit chief. And John, would you mind just kind of saying a few words about how you got involved with rescue at the beginning and why you've continued on with this type of work?
Yeah, sure. I thought I was gonna get out of speaking today, going to that airport call. But so yeah, as Jacob said, I'm John Keating. I'm from the class of 17, hometown of Wilmington, Massachusetts. There wasn't a whole lot of involvement with like junior firefighter or EMT programs down in Massachusetts. A lot of the cities around Boston are the career professional full-time departments. So I came to St. Mike's. Didn't really know too much about the program at all. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And then one night a couple friends didn't really know what we were going to do for the night. We had some free time and we saw the informational session posters on our dorm floors, and we came over to the station and checked it out. And the three of us, so it was myself, Pat McCann, and Mike Good, were joined up the department. Pat was on the fire side. He's now at the Naval Maritime Academy in the Bronx. Mike Good, who's just up this weekend, is a paramedic full-time down in Belmont, Mass, and I'm here. So, it's kind of cool that we all kind of joined up together and spent 4 years and, seeing where, this organization has taken us. And after, probably just a couple months here on the department, I kind of knew that I wanted to do emergency services when I graduated from St. Mike's. Went to paramedic school, just finished paramedic school a couple months ago. And then when Leslie was getting ready to leave last year, I decided that I wanted to apply for the position to come back home and to come back and work with the students that are here now. So that's kind of where I am and kind of my story. And I'm glad that I'm back home.
Perfect. Thanks, John. And thanks for jumping in the middle of this. We know your work never stops, so we appreciate you kind of jumping in and out. All right, to kind of take us to a next round of questions. These are kind of a little more technical. The first one comes from an alum as well. And it asks us, do the fire and rescue program here at St. Mike's still do joint trainings with the Colchester Fire Department, or how does that training process work with other departments in the area?
Well, to sum up, I guess a couple of months worth of news. Recently, the town of Colchester decided to merge their volunteer departments into one town department and host, I believe, 3 paid staff members. And so that was in the benefit of the town's people, so that they can have a minimum response during the day, and it encourages more volunteers to respond at night. Now that really didn't change, I guess, our standing with the town. We are still privately contracted by the town of Colchester to provide emergency services. And this is speaking from the fire side. You guys can talk about rescue afterwards. But, we're still out there with the town of Colchester on Wednesday nights, either humping hose or practicing searches in a building or something. So not much in that avenue has changed for us.
And so do we see those similar partnerships with kind of like you were mentioning on the rescue side for their trainings as well? I guess this would be to you, John.
Yeah, so rescue's kind of always done our own thing. We continue to train kind of in-house every Sunday night, as we've done for a while. So really, we do get periodic kind of joint trainings with either like the Winooski Fire Department on motor vehicle accidents or the Heinsberg Fire Department, but we don't frequently train with the actual Colchester Fire Department. There's the occasional joint department training here between both the fire and rescue units, but there's very infrequent trainings jointly between, St. Michael's Rescue and the Colchester Fire Department. Mostly we would train with the Winooski Fire Department for those motor vehicle kind of types of trainings.
Thanks. That makes a lot of sense, I think, as I'm kind of understanding that training process of how those divides kind of work. And I guess this would be a good question to kind of follow up with that is, with this being a 2-unit department, how strict are those divides between the fire and the rescue side for both students going on calls or just wanting to get involved with the program and continuing it up with that?
That seems like a max.
Sure.
Up for that one.
So I guess from a practical, physical perspective, we're all under the same roof. We interact with one another. We have the bunk rooms upstairs and the communal room and kitchen, so we spend a lot of time together. But in terms of, I guess, physically being on the fire grounds at the rescue scenes, our working together is periodical, as Chief Keating said. Just yesterday, there was a vehicle accident in Colchester, and that required 3 ambulances. And that's kind of one of those every once in a while calls where you see a St. Mike's fire engine and a St. Mike's ambulance at the same scene. And fortunately, because we know each other, because we've trained with one another on the occasion, we respond very fluidly with one another. There's not really much of a gap in understanding of each other's duties. But in terms of, I guess, the department structure, there is a fairly strict divide between the 2 units in a practical sense. When you start up in your first year in the fall semester or whenever you decide to join, you can only join one or the other. And that's just for the benefit of the student, because if you were to go through the county basic course with the fire department as well as the rescue rookie class, both of those classes are very substantial in terms of knowledge and practice that one has to do. And so balancing that with 16 credits of collegiate courses is not an easy feat. And to make it easier for students who want to join, we have that standpoint. But also there are a number of members that, served on the fire unit but want to practice their EMS skills more, so they decide to join the rescue unit. And there's also members of the rescue unit who have decided to join the fire unit in that retrospect as well. So upon entry, there are strict rules in terms of joining one or the other, but as one progresses through the ranks and develops their training and kind of gets really good at certain things, it's encouraged almost that, we start working with one another.
Great. And we are kind of nearing the end of our questions that we had prepared. So anyone from the attendees, please feel free to submit a few more. One question I do have that I think will kind of spin this a little bit differently is, what would you all think about in the perfect world for the goals and how the program could grow over the next 5 to 10 years? Whether that's a personal aspiration or kind of a more organizational one. Just what would you hope for this program to be if you were participating in a panel like this 10, 20 years down the line?
Yeah.
That is such a difficult question to answer for so many reasons, but it's a great question. I think foremost, we hope that we're still here, right? We hope that we're still relevant in the sense that you see so many communities now pushing away or trying to get away from either private EMS or contracted fire service. Just like the town of Colchester, right? Colchester had the Mallets Bay Fire Department, which was an arm of Fire District 2, which was responsible for delivering water. And Colchester Center merged with Fire District 3, which is responsible for delivering water to the village, if you will, of town. And the town basically made the decision to say, we're not doing that anymore. It's time to kind of grow up and get with the times. And we're going to become a town department for many reasons. And most of them were really good reasons. So my hope is that for us on the fire side, we're able to still build on the relationship that we had with Center and that we're currently building and what we have with the town, right? It's a very different ball game in the sense of the structure, but the goal is the same, right? The goal is to put an engine on the road every single call with people that are trained and excited and happy to do it. And it's a service that we provide Colchester and Winooski with a great degree of reliability. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times we go to a scene, go to a fire, go to an accident, and other people, other places are rolling up with 2 or 3, and we have a crew of 8, and we just provide such a benefit there. We are working very strongly and hard to build up a really great relationship and a program with Winooski, besides what we're doing with Colchester. So I think from the fire side, that would really be my hope, is to keep this going for as long as we obviously possibly can. And I think we do that through strategic partnerships with Colchester and Winooski. And who knows what might change in the next 5 or 10 years. I mean, so many people talk about regionalizing services. We are trying to do it with dispatch, and it's not there yet. It doesn't mean it's impossible, but I think on the fire side of things, that would be the hope, is to keep it going, keep people growing, get them trained up, and get them, get the members ready to go, ready to take on the next challenge once they graduate, no matter what they want to do. Think about rescue. Let's keep it going.
Oh, there we go. We're live. No, I mean, I think that, Jers hit most of it. I mean, we would like to, definitely see, the organization still here, but like you said, there is discussions about, consolidating services in some, portions of the state and even the county. As some of our alums know, we've been servicing, from the rescue side, we've been servicing the towns of Heinsberg and St. George for the last 50 years. And it got to a point where that's such a long drive and takes, multiple hours to respond to a medical call and transport the patient back up to Burlington. And, last year we were requested for 2,900 medical calls. And, we've seen some great growth on the rescue side. And it got to the point where responding into Heinsberg 200 to 300 times a year just was no longer feasible for, to really keep, our student experience the way it is, to allow them to not, get called out for 2 hours every night to go into Heinsberg. So we approached the town of Heinsberg to request that we were to stop service, and in the process that they're trying to go to figure out who's going to take over their own ambulance service next year. Some of the select board members are talking about regionalizing ambulances in the southern part of Chittenden County between Shelburne, Charlotte, Heinsberg, and Richmond. So, the premise of regionalization or consolidation is definitely around. I'd like to believe that St. Mike's is in a position with the city of Winooski and like the Route 15 corridor and parts of Essex that we're going to be around it and keep answering, over 2,500 medical calls a year for service in the next, 5 to 10 years. But who knows what's going to happen, but I definitely think that, we'll definitely still be here and still responding into the good old city of Winooski.
Great, thanks for that. Definitely sounds like there's a lot of interesting changes and shifts throughout the industry in general. So thanks for that overview as well. Another question coming from our attendees from Henry, and then some few in the chat that's like a follow-up, is could you give us an overview of kind of like the current levels of equipment you all have and staffing levels? Another question that came in related to is the 409 fire truck coming back?
Depending on the day of the week that you ask me that, yeah, it's definitely going back in service. So overview of what we have. So we're fortunate, right? We're really fortunate. Beth, we'll get to that too. We'll hit all that in one fell swoop. So we're fortunate to be well funded because we have really, we have strong call volume. So that really allows us to have good equipment. And we have currently on the fire side a 2009 Stutfin custom pumper. That was our first endeavor with customizing an engine. And we are looking to replace that within the next 12 to 15 months. Just that's our, we have a 12-year rotation. Almost 3 years ago, we purchased an E1 to replace a 20-year or a 17-year-old engine. So we're really well equipped from a vehicle perspective. Our staffing levels are strong. We have 20 fire members right now with 8 rookies, so basically 8 new people starting up next week. Rescue's got like 30 members, and they have another 20 rookies. Rookies are indicating that they're interested in joining, so they're going to start that, or they've already started. Our call volume is high. We did almost 800 fire calls last year, and you guys were like 2,800 rescue calls. So the volume's there, the demand for service and the expectation is there. Beth, your question about paramedic intercept, it was just starting when you moved away, and we continue to perfect it, and my computer just died, so that's awkward. So I'll do this from my phone. Apologize. We are in the process of speccing out an SUV that's a dual role, so a part-time command vehicle and a part-time fly car, but we're going to also maintain car 10 to give us some redundancies in terms of the ability to provide that paramedic intercept. So John just completed his training, and he'll be intercepting shortly as a paramedic. We have a couple alums that are active, so we're moving forward with all those plans. And then, like for the fire side, our equipment, it's really dead. Our equipment, the majority of it, very similar to how we were set up with Colchester Center. That equipment is provided to us through the town. And this will be the first year. This will be the first year that we're doing requesting the equipment and the supplies through the town. So we'll see how it goes. But so far, it's been fine. Like no reason for concern at this point. We just got 8 or 9 sets of new gear not too long ago. So things are still happening, which is good. And the 409, I joke because we had some problems with engine 8 and the transmission, but it's not going to ever go back in service to go on calls, but it's fully restored. It's in our bay right now. But Max is going to go mobile here and try to show you. We're waiting on a couple parts, and then we're going to figure out a long-term storage solution for it, but it looks great. It's nice. It drives pretty well. And it's cool to have a piece of history right in the bay for everybody to see. It's very nice.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. So that's the 409 truck right there, correct?
Yep. Well, I can't see it.
According to my Google search. Very nice. Thanks for that tour, Max. I'm glad the service is holding up over there.
No problem.
And another question that's been asked a few times that I'm not really sure about is people are asking about how Pappy is doing. And so
Me this too. He's good. I think he's a little bored of sitting at home because he's pretty, he's concerned about the coronavirus because he's got some health issues that he has to contend with, but he's good. He checks in weekly. We take him out to lunch or he comes here and has a cup of coffee, but he's good. He's in good spirits. I think he'd like to be out and about a little more, but he's very aware of what's going on. So if anybody ever wants to give him a ring, I'm sure he'd love to talk to you, but you'd probably have to reserve 2 hours of your day because he's a talker. He loves to talk.
For those who don't know, could you just say who Pappy is?
Yeah, I'm sure of it. Yeah, he was the founding, he's started it all.
Okay.
And he was a chief for a long time, and he's been kicking around and hanging around and loves everything that we do and is always trying to check in and see what's going on. he likes to keep his finger on the pulse of what's happening around here. So, but it's great. It's actually a lot of fun when he well, now we go get him, but when we go out for lunch and stuff, it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like having lunch with your grandfather.
Perfect. So Donald Sutton, the former dean of students. Thanks for clarifying for that. I was like, I don't know if this is a real question or not, but I'll see if people know. Awesome. And as we're kind of wrapping up our last few minutes together here, are there any final comments that you would like to let people know about the program, or things that you feel like we've missed so far through our discussion today?
No, I just think we got to say thank you to everybody for supporting us, whether it's through running duty or making donations. The last couple months have been exceptionally difficult, and the support of the alums has been huge, just to lift membership morale and keep everybody happy. And most everybody knows, the only thing you got to do to keep this crew happy is feed them. And the influx of food during the coronavirus, the peak of the coronavirus was huge. It was just such a real morale booster, to just be able to get something different to eat when you're on duty and whatnot, and not have to spend your own money. I think was very beneficial for them.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of what Chief said, seeing all those donations come in and seeing the names that were attached to them, seeing the years of graduation from those names, it was incredible because, unfortunately we did not have our annual banquet where we would have had the opportunity to meet these people, but I'm excited for the years to come where I can return as an alumnus, or maybe even this spring should a vaccine come out, or some kind of ability to meet in large groups, because, saying thank you to these, the generous alumni that have donated is just, it's not possible to do in a way that is satisfactory to our members, I guess. A card can only do so much.
Well, thank you for that. We definitely appreciate that, because you all are a big part of our campus community, as well as our larger community. So that support was well deserved on all of your parts. So thank you for everything you're doing and you continue to do. So as we're wrapping up here, for those who don't know, I did just put, let me make sure I do what I told everyone to do and do this to attendees and panelists. The website of the St. Mike's Fire and Rescue right in our chat there. There's a lot of great information on that page about the program and its history, as well as updates. You can even see kind of those monthly call totals right there on the front page as well. So it's a great resource to kind of explore and reconnect yourself with the program as well. So definitely be sure to check that out. And at this point, I want to just thank everyone again for joining us today, and especially for our panelists, John, Eric, Max, and Ryan. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing, and we'll continue to do throughout this next year. And definitely know that the Alumni Network is here to support you, and let us know of any ways you can continue with that as well. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.